Hey, and welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. I'm Elena Lipson. I'm a mama, I'm a wife, and I'm the founder of the Divine Self-Care Circle membership and the Virtual Retreat Academy. I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your body, your health, or your family in order to create true abundance and prosperity. I believe in living based on the divine feminine metrics of success, and these include pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. Each week, I'll bring you 1 to 2 new episodes. One of these will be a guided meditation that you don't have to do on the meditation pillow, and the other will be a conversation to help you access your inner wisdom, to ignite abundance, and inspire others to do the same. I invite you to join me on this journey back to the magic of a divinely aligned and well cared for you. And now, join me for today's episode. Hey, and welcome to another episode of Meditations and Musings podcast. This is Elena Lipson, your host and the founder of the 66 Sacred Rituals. So before we dive into today's topic, Scrabble as foreplay, I know you're dying to hear this one, and I am really excited to share it with you because I think it's going to be a little bit different from some of the typical relationship advice that you might get elsewhere. So, before I get started, I wanted to remind you that the amazing sponsor of this show is the 66 Sacred Rituals, an audio journey to activate daily magic and abundance. I created the 66 Sacred Rituals as a really beautiful gateway to an introduction to some very simple, very powerful, really beautiful. Some are uniquely designed from my own practices. Some are borrowed from other practices. And I always give credit where credit's due because I have some amazing teachers over the last couple decades who have really been part of my spiritual education, my practice, and moving forward, I want to make sure that, we learn from each other. It's not all about me knowing what to do. It's about me learning, about me processing, and then sharing with you. So the 66 Sacred Rituals are a beautiful compilation as an entry point to what the heck are rituals and how can I embed them into my life? So each audio is anywhere from 2 to 7 minutes long. They're very simple, things that you can do in most places in your life. Some of them require a little bit of quiet, but they're really intended for you to get really present in your mind and your body in the present moment so that you can really get to know yourself, get to know your intuition, to really trust those intuitive nudges that you get. So it's a very powerful journey that you get to do over and over again. And the way I would recommend for you to use it is to try each one at least once, and then from there, choose 1 or 2 or 3 that you want to start building as habits, or maybe you want to just continue the program over and over again, or maybe as a milestone to start a new habit in your life, or maybe at some turning point in your life. Those are great times to experience it. And of course, you'll always have lifetime access once you purchase the 66 Sacred Rituals. They are yours to keep and use as many times as you'd like. And as a listener of the Meditations and Musings podcast, you get the exclusive coupon code. All you have to do is head over to elenalipson.com/66 days. And when you follow the prompts, and you could even experience one of the rituals, there's a free audio on there for you. Once you go through the checkout process, please don't forget to use the coupon code podcast. That's it. You'll get $10 off of your purchase. I hope you really enjoy this. It's one of the most popular courses that I've created, the one that I get asked to talk about the most. And you get to have $10 off when you use the coupon code just for being a treasured listener of my podcast. So now let's dive into today's topic, Scrabble as foreplay. Now, I said this as an offhanded comment once, and then I started really thinking about it. And I realized that even though I said it sort of in a funny, offhanded way, I realized that it actually was very true. Now, here, let me explain. So I have been with my husband now for more than 18 years. We are now heading into our 19th year together. And we've been married for over 15 years together, over 18 years. And we have a son who's now 12, and we have his work, we have my business, we have a partnership that I'm part of, we have our life that we live, and there's a lot of stuff on our plate. Now, we are people who tend to not overcommit, and we don't usually do more. Like, we're not someone who fills our schedule, and we're very mindful about filling our son's schedule as well. And yet somehow there's still, between school and life and work and business and family and friends, there's still a lot that happens. So over the years, our relationship has definitely changed. And when people ask me, you guys, they tell me, like, you guys look so happy together. You look like you really love being together. And what's your secret? Like, you guys are always, you want to be together, you have fun together. Like, what is your secret? It seems like you have a really great marriage. And we do have a really great marriage. And the secret is we've had several marriages, meaning that the couple that we were when we first got together back in 1999, my goodness, we were younger. We were in our 20s. We didn't have kids. We had never been married before. We were living our separate lives. We had different backgrounds, different priorities. So when we got together then, our life was very different. We had a lot more time to commit to getting to know each other, to spending lounging days just talking or going for walks or just doing things that we maybe don't do at this time in our life, right? So then we got to a point where we bought a condo together, and then we bought a house together, and then we were building, our life together. We had a baby together, and all these different stages in our lives require different parts of us to show up. And our intimate life has changed dramatically since we were single to dating, to then married with no children, to then both being fully employed, then having a child. Life changes. And I remember one of the first things that we talked about when we first got together is we need to treat our marriage like it's this third entity, like this separate entity that needs loving care. It needs attention. And to be quite honest, as life goes on, as you have kids and jobs and houses and mortgages and blah, 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 the attention that you give to your marriage can be easily put to the side by things that require your immediate attention, like a screaming child and a mortgage to pay and all those other things that happen. And now that we're, in our 40s, we have families that live in other parts of the world. We have, like I said, I have 2 businesses that I run. I have my husband's work, our son's homeschooling. So we've got a lot on our plate. And so the amount of time and attention that we give to our marriage has shifted dramatically. But one of the things that we've always done is to really, we very quickly feel when we're disconnected. Meaning that I feel like all of a sudden, I feel like his energy is really far away and mine is far away, and I'm laughing a lot less. And, just like that intimate time becomes a little bit of a chore. And so what we started doing recently is just talking about ways that we can connect and how do we, what do we do to keep it light and playful and together? And the Scrabble things just sort of happen because we both happen to really love Scrabble. I'm very competitive. If you just know me, on the surface, you might not think I'm a very competitive person. Like, I'm pretty laid back in general, but I get really competitive. And when I start playing sports or board games or card games or anything else, I'm really competitive. And I love that about myself because I get like that fiery part of myself has a voice. So when we play Scrabble, we actually just started playing it as a kind of not really a ritual, but anytime we had some time in the house, we realized like, hey, you want to play Scrabble? And it became this thing that we kind of came together. We're sitting across from each other. We are, we're in this like competitive place where we're getting all fiery and we're out of the normal day-to-day life rhythms. We are sort of like jabbing each other. We are challenging each other if we don't think we spelled something right or trying to like bluff a word. And all of a sudden I realized that I was really looking forward to spending this time with him. And I was laughing and he was laughing and we were connecting in a way that is very, very different than we do in other parts of our lives. And I started noticing that I wanted to be more physical with him. And we already have a really mindful, conscious, physical relationship. After so many years of being married, we both work out. We both are very into health and wellness. We both appreciate and understand the value of being physically connected to each other as a portal to a really solid long-term relationship. And so I found that it was like Scrabble had become this way that we connected in a new way, where we were playing with each other, we were just feeling competitive with each other, we were igniting a part of ourselves that I don't feel like we accessed since we first started dating. So it started this whole new layer to our relationship. And when I actually said it to him, I'm like, I told someone that our Scrabble was like our foreplay, and he laughed and he totally got what I meant. And that doesn't mean that we don't do other foreplay when we're intimate together, but it feels like we are actually mindfully, playfully connecting during the day in a time where we could, decide to like, oh, I can go clean the kitchen, or you can go clean the garage, or we can do other things, but we're putting those things aside. And now our son does not like to play Scrabble, so he does other things. So we're actually even choosing each other above other things. And that's the pivotal moment where it becomes like foreplay. Because what we're doing is we are spending our intentional attention on each other. We are being playful. I had to learn how to be a good loser, which I'm not, but I've really had to learn to lighten up and to actually appreciate when he wins. Like, I love him. I adore him. I want him to win. So it's been this really beautiful kind of deepening of our new layer of this relationship now that we've been married this long and we have a kid who's 12, and it's a very different thing being parents to an almost teenager than it was being parents to a 5 or 6-year-old. So it's almost like we're connecting in this new way, and it's become like this foreplay to our relationship in general, not just our intimate moments. So as you heard in the intro to this podcast, play is one of the success metrics that I use in my life. So when I find that I'm playing less, feeling less playful, like I'm being more serious and I'm actually like feeling very heavy in my thoughts and I'm taking things too seriously, my husband is always there to be the person who reminds me to have a good laugh. But it's not always easy when you're serious or stressed. It's not easy to go from stress to playful, right? So there has to be this transition. So our choice to be together and play a game has actually become a beautiful lesson for me to just get really present, to put the phone away, to just have these fun conversations over a game, and then to laugh. And so it's been this really incredible access point to becoming a more playful person. And when I began noticing that not only was I kind of igniting this part of myself that had forgotten that playing board games was so much fun on a regular basis, but also that I was feeling more playful with my husband. And that has been a real gift. Like, I feel like in general, one of my big intentions for this coming year, and it's now January of 2018 as I'm recording this episode, is play, like the freedom to play, to just, and I've had it as a success metric, but now it's like, you have these intentions, and if you just write them on a list somewhere and don't actually explore them, they become just another thing that you write in your journal. But for me, when I choose a word for the year, and I'll do another episode on what my word for the year is, but just to quickly give you an example, it's freedom. My word for this year is freedom. And on the outside, if you just leave it at like financial freedom or freedom to be playful, those are just the first layer meanings of the word. But I really spent time living with the word freedom, thinking about it, writing about it, talking about it. And for me, what I've discovered is freedom for me at the very deepest level is to just be me in all ways, like freedom to not be so serious, freedom to laugh. I just love to laugh. And sometimes I notice if I'm being too serious, it's very difficult for me to laugh. Like, it has to be super duper funny, or I have to be in the mood. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be this like serious, stressed out mom, wife, or coach that is like constantly feeling like I have to analyze everything and unpack everything and pick everything apart. I want to be playful. I want to be present. So I want to have the freedom to feel what I feel in the moment. I want to have the freedom to just laugh and enjoy and play and move my body. So that's an example. So if you're looking for, as I'm talking, if you're feeling like, oh, I wonder what it would be like to be more playful. I wonder what it would be like to feel more free, or whatever word that you're exploring for the year. Take it really deeper and just wonder for yourself what metaphors, like for me, Scrabble has become a metaphor for lightening up, for being more playful, for being more present. And I call it foreplay because it feels like, first of all, the word play is in it, right? And it happens before anything else happens in our life sometimes. It really ignites and embeds this feeling of playfulness in my life, in our relationship. And we sort of crave it when we have a little bit of downtime. We sort of look at each other and, snicker, and we're like, so you want to play some Scrabble? And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. But, more than likely, it just becomes this sort of invitation to play, invitation to sit, invitation to put the phones away and just be intimate together. So if perhaps we sort of are craving a game of Scrabble and we want to connect, but we don't feel like we have enough time, maybe we'll just sit and talk for a while without our phones. And that can be amazing foreplay for your relationship, for your intimacy. Because if your intimacy is simply dedicated to the times when you're in bed together, like most women, we are like this pilot light, right? We want to be ignited and tended to the entire day, not just when the lights go out. And that's where a lot of women tend to have this disembodied experience where we're not really present for the pleasure. You're starting to think about your to-do list, or you're starting to think about, rehashing some conversation that you had, and it doesn't feel good to be with somebody physically, but really disconnected emotionally and mentally. So when I say Scrabble as foreplay, not only is it the actual act of sitting down and playing a game together that becomes a way to connect, but it's also a metaphor for anything else in your life that helps you to feel connected, playful, present in your body, in your soul, with the person that you want to be intimate with. So if you're having any sort of intimacy issues, you're finding yourself disembodied, like you're just thinking about your to-do list during sex, I invite you to think about alternative ways to connect during the day that will help you feel more, I don't know why I'm mixing this up, feel more present, playful with the person that you want to connect with. So let that intimate playfulness and connection begin way before you actually get in bed naked together. Really allow yourself to wonder, how can I infuse more play as a ritual into my relationship, right? So rituals are something that I teach as a practice in my Divine Self-Care Circle with my one-on-one clients, in my masterminds. And the reason is because it becomes this way of just embedding a new practice in your life. It brings meaning to something that you find important. So you're not just going day by day until 10 years can go by and all of a sudden you look back and you're like, who the heck is this person sitting across from me? So whether you're in a relationship or you're not in a relationship yet, find ways to embed playful rituals, ways to really connect with the person, not just in the day-to-day grind of cleaning the kitchen and, taking care of the car and the kids and all that stuff. Or even if you're not with someone fully yet, when you start to be with someone, notice if there's someone who's open to playfulness, someone who's open to connecting without the phones constantly being in your hand, because this is the person who's going to be there for you when you need someone to listen to you, when you need someone to see you, when you need someone to have a really deep conversation with. You want to make sure this person has a sense of humor, right? B, the ability to be fully present for you, and C, someone who values connection, right? You don't want someone who's like, oh, my business is my top priority. I mean, I get it. Money's important. Money can make or break a relationship for sure, but the money's not going to mean anything if you're not connected, right? Just think about how much more successful you can be together on all levels, financially, spiritually, emotionally, socially, if you're connected and playful. So that is my musing for you today. I can absolutely write an entire chapter in a book, and I am, on this topic because it's so important. This play piece is such an important element, and that's why it's called foreplay. Foreplay, right? It's called foreplay for a reason, because it's meant to be playful. It's meant to be a place where you can let go, have a laugh. Just not take yourself so damn seriously all the time, right? Aren't you like sick of that? I know I am. So get some more play in your life. I invite you to, whether you're pulling out a game of Scrabble, whether you're going to go for a walk, whether you're going to hopscotch, whatever, wonder what would it be like to embed more play into your new relationship or a relationship that you've been in for a while that needs a little bit of fire. So I hope you enjoyed today. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave me a comment. If you like this, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Any reflections that you had? Do you completely disagree? That's all good too. I'd love to know. Leave a comment. And if you think you know someone who would benefit from hearing this, please share it with your friends, with your community. The more we have these conversations, the more powerfully shifted our relationships can become, and we can change the world that way. Because happier people who have more orgasms and play more are going to help other people in general. So thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for staying with me. I hope you got something out of this, because I know these are not easy things to think about, but I want to keep opening the door on the new success metrics: pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. It's not all about the hustle. The hustle's good when you're in flow, but hustle for hustle's sake is just going to burn you out. And we need you well cared for. Thank you so much for being with me today. This is Elena Lipson, your Divine Self-Care Mentor, and I'll see you for the next episode of Meditations and Musings. Take care. Thank you so much for listening and learning about the new Divine Self-Care way of being in your life, business, and the bedroom based on the divine feminine metrics of success: pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. If you're ready to bust the myth of overwhelm and tap into an inspired start to each day, I've put together a free video series for you to help you start each day with energy, inspiration, and ignite that inner pilot light which attracts joy, magic, and synchronicity. You can access my 3-step magic morning practice to help you ignite your inner light and attract the abundance that you're craving. Head on over to elenalipson.com/gift. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would so love if you share it with a friend, a sister, a mother, a daughter, and please leave a review. That is how the magic starts to ripple out. Here's wishing you a day full of beauty, magic, and divine self-care. I'll see you next time at the Meditations and Musings podcast.